We always say the way you win on Amazon is you find a product that's not oversaturated, but yet has demand. And you can see that by what other Amazon customers are buying that's similar. That's how you win on Amazon. Selling on Amazon sometimes is like riding a roller coaster. It can be the most fun. You're just full of joy, having a great time, right? And other times it can be some of the deepest and darkest emotions that you experience in life. And probably most entrepreneurs would say that no matter what business they're in, you're going to have highs and lows. Well, for us, this past 2 weeks on Amazon has been one of those times where you're up super high and then you're down super low. We had a product that was selling between $6,000 and $8,000 a day. It's one of our what we call our hero SKUs. So if you're in the retail business at all, you know that you have certain products that are just heroes that generate really 80% of the revenue. So it's the old 80-20 rule where 20% of the products will generate 80% of the revenue. Well, this was one of those products. And it was doing really well. And then all of a sudden, Amazon restricted the ASIN. So you go from hero to zero in basically about a minute, because you know then that typically it's going to be a fight to get that back. And that's just kind of the dark side of Amazon. Now, if you've listened to us at all, you know that we talk about the amazing opportunity. We believe it is the best opportunity to build amazing business, right? Especially amazing business from home. But that does not neglect the fact that there are going to be times when you will face challenges, just like we are right now with this ASIN that so far to this point, because we've still been fighting with Amazon to get it back, we've lost over $150,000 of revenue in just this one listing. And up to this point, we haven't been able to get it back. But I think, Nate, that you would agree, and this is what I'm super appreciative of, super thankful. And it's one of the things that we often talk about when we talk about growing not only Amazon business, but just making good common sense decisions when it comes to whatever business you're in, that we're in a good place financially because we've built that foundation for the business. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, obviously it's a hard situation. Hope everybody's doing well. It's a hard situation. I think at the end of the day, you have to look at the vehicle that you're working with. And you've said the last couple of weeks that you are so thankful of this e-commerce Amazon opportunity, because if you look at franchises across the country, for example, the ceiling on the revenue potential is so low, right? You talk about Subway, McDonald's, even McDonald's on the higher end is maybe $1 million, $1.5 million that you're kind of capped out at. But we've been able to take our small business and grow to $10 million in sales working from home, basically, right? No headquarters in a sense. I mean, we have warehouse space. We talk about that and we do get together occasionally, but mostly from home. And we have mostly virtual team members and employees. And so the unlimited potential in a sense is so great that you have to look at that vehicle and ask yourself, is it worth it to go through this heartache of what you're talking about? Because it sucks when something like this happens. But I've seen a couple of people comment, Andy, I know you've posted about this on both our Amazing Freedom Insiders group, maybe on your personal wall. I'm not sure on Facebook. You've been commenting on LinkedIn about this. And I've seen people respond to you saying, Andy, this is why you shouldn't even sell on Amazon. Like Amazon's, no good and you should just go away from Amazon. And I get why people say that, but you've also been preaching Amazon for coming up to 10 years now, I think. You've been talking about it for a long time. And my challenge to anybody's thinking on that would be, and I'll throw this to you, Andy, how much opportunity loss would you have had if you just never would have started on Amazon in general, or just in the past year or two or 3 years that we've been selling this product that's down now? Yes, we've lost 150,000 so far the last couple of weeks not selling this product, but how much would we have lost by never launching this product on Amazon or selling on Amazon in general, right? Like that's the question I would throw there. Is the vehicle the right vehicle? If it is, and by that I mean, is Amazon the right opportunity to be selling on, right? Is it a good business place to be at? how do you, how much do you think we would have sold if we never would have launched this product at all? That I think at this point we've sold over $2 to $3 million worth of this specific product since we first launched it.
Absolutely. And I think if you look at every business you just mentioned, extreme amount of challenges. So if you look at franchise businesses, like a McDonald's, like a Subway, even this past 2 years, they probably went through more challenging times than the previous 50 when it comes to hiring employees, right? Such a difficult job. My wife was actually just talking to the CEO of Hershey Entertainment and Resorts, and the restaurant and the hospitality industry over the last 2 years, if they were not positioned well, they really struggled. And so that is a key factor in any business, whether you're selling on Amazon, whether you have a local business, you have to be able to be positioned well. You have to be really good at capital allocation. You have to know your numbers, because these type of things are going to come up. And if you're not ready, just like we were, it can really put you in a panic situation, and it can really sink you down emotionally. But I think we've been through this now. So one of the things that people don't talk about often enough, I think, in business is patience. We've been selling on Amazon now for 9 years. And like you said, a number of those comments were like, look, get out of the Amazon game. I think that we've built up a certain resistance that we just know at times these things are going to happen. Yet we still believe, like you just said, the ceiling on Amazon, because of Amazon FBA, is really limitless. You can sell up to $1 billion a year and not, honestly, really not have to touch your product very much, because Amazon does all the fulfilling. So I think it's a bump in the road, but people need to be aware that you don't want to be in a debt situation where if one of your hero SKUs goes down for 15, 20 days, or if you don't get it back, where you're going to have to say, okay, I got to close up shop.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that further. I also want to welcome anybody who's listening to us, and I want to say this is kind of what we're talking about now. Really goes into what we're doing this year. We recently announced our $10 million challenge, where Andy and I are basically challenging ourselves, but putting it out there publicly, which is a little bit scary, but to try to put it out there publicly as part of this podcast, as part of our emails every week, in our blogs at amazingfreedom.com. We're doing this $10 million challenge where in our brand that we've been building the last couple of years, we're trying to get to the $10 million mark this year. And when we made the challenge, I said this in the first video I made about it. Yes, we actually hit this mark already before last year, but there's some challenges that we've had with our brand. We're already experiencing more this year. And so it's not like it's a guarantee by any means to get to 10 million. And maybe we can talk about that in another episode, Andy, that just because you've hit the $1 million mark doesn't mean you're going to be able to do it again. Always. We actually had our partner, Gay Lisby, who leads the Amazon Seller Tribe, go through something similar where she was $1 million seller. She had some really bad personal life events, death of a family member, her son almost dying, like just some really bad, things happened personally where she struggled then. And then now this last year in 2021, she got back to the $1 million mark. And now her and her sister are just cruising along, and they look like they're going to get to 2 million and beyond before we know it. But this happens. This is real life, right? It's not always just an upward projection. Everybody's seen those entrepreneur journeys where it's the stair steps, or sometimes you take 2 steps forward and 1 step back. And we can attest to that. I feel like we've been pretty open through the years about the mistakes we've made. We have entire videos about failed private label product launches, our inflatable floats. I think you talked about last week, right? And how we thought those were going to make us rich, and we sunk. That product sunk for us. So we're open about that. And so, yeah, just to talk about it. Number one, I want to say, if you want to follow us on this $10 million challenge journey, where we're going to all year be giving you progress updates about where we're at, the good, the bad, the ugly, hopefully more good than bad and ugly. We're going to be open about it, though, what's happening. So where are we at in this journey? If our ASIN is down, we're probably going to be struggling a little bit in January compared to where we wanted to end the month at. So go to amazingfreedom.com, become an Amazing Freedom Insider. If you do that just by going to the website and signing up, It's free. You'll get our weekly newsletter. You'll get access to these updates that we're going to give around the $10 million challenge, a couple of free tools that we have that we are using in our own brand and that we're releasing as kind of a template form for any person looking to get to 7 or 8 figures. So go sign up to be an insider if you haven't yet. That's the best way to follow us on this journey. So Andy, talking about some of these kind of principles that we've tried to put into our business, I'll just say that yes, we weren't ready for this specific event. I don't think anybody can plan specifically when certain things happen. So as a business, we've made certain decisions to operate in a more conservative way, I would say, or kind of a more not overly aggressive. And so, like you said already, we haven't leveraged ourselves too much with debt. Thankfully, we've been able to grow to $10 million without taking loans. I know that's not something that everybody can do, but we're able to do that because we've been selling on Amazon for years and years, right? It's not like we just started and got to this overnight. We've been selling for 8 years. We took profits from original brands to kind of grow this and experience. And then even now we've been selling this brand for coming on 4 years. And so it was a progression, and picking your products with the right ROI and margins goes into that as well, not needing to take huge loans, but doing that. And then also just trying to keep ourselves lean, not overextending when it comes to our overhead and our in our costs, which some of that actually though we do experience too. So like just this last quarter, we had to make some cuts with our business. We had to really sit down and evaluate our profit and loss statement and our balance sheet and see, was there some tough decisions we had to make? And we had to make some tough decisions. We had to pare down our team a little bit. We had to get rid of some overhead that just wasn't working. We had to cut back on some of our PPC spend a little bit just to make sure our margins are right. And all that factors into other stuff going on. So we're doing that regularly. We're trying to do that every month and quarter, just look at the health of the business. So I would challenge anybody selling on Amazon that you are keeping, number one, good books. Gary Ray talks about this all the time in Amazon Seller Tribe, just like making sure your books are good and that you're actually accounting for all of your expenses, not just your product expenses, but those non-cost of goods sold type expenses as well. And then we're just trying to operate in a conservative way. So while you can't predict everything, we have been trying to do that. So what else would be helpful if you were starting, Andy?
Well, and I think you and I say this too, talking to folks, is you want to bootstrap as long as you possibly can. Like, you keep rolling the profits back into the business. Live like immigrants do when they come to the country. So Gary Vee talks about this often. Don't start taking the profits from your business and purchasing liabilities. Don't take the profits and go buy a pontoon boat. Don't take the profits and go buy a nice car. If at the end of the day, and I think this is what you and I want, Nate, like at the end of the day, our goal is freedom. It's not necessarily money. The end of the day is we want to be able to choose how we're going to spend that time. So whether that's spending time with our family, for Deanna and I, when our kids were younger, we really made decisions that would allow us to homeschool them. And that's what we did. That was our life. And so we were going to structure our work life around the ability to homeschool our kids. And we did that. We executed on that. And when it comes to building your business, you have to be able to put yourself in the position like we're talking about, where we can take a hit where we've lost 150,000 in revenue. It means that you are not going to take that money out and start wastefully spending it. If you are, you're not going to be able to get to that point where I think you can call your life really a life of freedom, where you're going to be able to choose what you want to do. So that's a big part of it.
I want to ask this wasn't planned. I want to ask like a little bit of a personal thing, and hopefully it relates to somebody listening or watching. Have you found through your life, just because, hey, let's admit you got a little bit of years on me, or, come from, you have a different perspective than I have maybe in day to day. You've gone through some of the seasons of life that I haven't yet. Have you found that what you just meant, like, I really like what you said there. It's about freedom, not the money. Me being in my 20s still, like, maybe it's harder to see some of that. My kids are still young. Like, you're just trying to like establish your business, your life and all that. Would you say, having gone through a lot of that and, your kids are getting to be older, would you say that, like, how's your perspective changed on that versus like getting the money, when earlier on versus like being about the freedom kind of later in life, like you see it from that perspective?
Yeah. So I mean, I think for us, again, it just came down to a lifestyle choice. So everyone has their core values. And for us, early on in our marriage, we started to say, look, one of the core values that we had is we really want to be able to spend time with our children when they're younger. Talking to folks who were older, who had their kids, some of the regrets they had was they didn't spend a good amount of time with their children when they were younger. And so I think for Deanna and I early on, we really wanted to make that a focus. And then for us, as we begin to have a family, it just seemed if we really wanted to execute on those goals, that homeschooling them was going to be the best way to get that one-on-one FaceTime with them. And so that's what we were able to do. Now, doing that because of the lifestyle and the choices that we made, it definitely put on hold our ability to build wealth because that really wasn't our focus then. But I didn't know about Amazon then, and so I wonder, going back to this would have been like the early 2000s, Amazon really started taking off probably 2005. If I would have known about it then, we probably would have incorporated it a lot sooner. And I may have been on this path that we've been on for 9 years now, similar to our friend Dan Wentworth, who started in the early 2000s. He was in corporate, working for a pharmacy company. I believe it was for CVS. And then he saw the lifestyle business of eBay and be able to incorporate his family in it. I think I would have done that sooner.
Or I think of John and Pam in our Amazon seller tribe, who he's a full-time pastor, right? But because of selling on Amazon, they're 7-figure sellers. He's been able to, just grow his, be able to do more than he would be able to otherwise. So it's really cool to see people in the tribe who are able to incorporate their kids into the business, not from a work standpoint, but like from a learning and a family time spent together. So yeah, I've appreciated that. And I've appreciated being able to work from home in the last couple of years. So it is exciting.
Let me just add this one more. This is kind of, I know this is off topic going into parenting, but I was just talking to my son the other day, and this is for young parents who have young kids. And my son's a junior in high school. My daughter's a junior in college. And oftentimes I think as parents, we think that we really need to give our kids things, right? And that's what's gonna, help them, make them happy. And we get caught in American consumerism, and it's not a good place to be. So, and talking to him was asking like, hey, what are some of your favorite memories, right? You know what his favorite memories are? Like when he thinks back to his childhood, it's when his mom would wrestle with him on the carpet. Like those are the good memories and emotions that come to him. So, I know this is again off topic, but as parents, right, just remember that like those are the things that as your kids get older, they're going to remember. They're not going to remember that nice Lego set that you gave them. We gave AJ some really nice Lego sets. He doesn't cherish those. He cherishes the interaction, the wrestling on the ground.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. I think everybody needs to hear that and be reminded. Okay, I like it. And so there's lots of challenges. We're doing our $10 million challenge. So as we experience these challenges in our own business, we're going to do our best to help other people navigate those. We often say a lot of people fail when it comes to selling on Amazon, which is the truth, right? Like there's so much opportunity there, but if you don't do it right, you can also fail. And we've had plenty of people we've talked to have done that. And so we don't want our listeners, people part of Amazing Freedom, to be one of those people. We want success for you. And that's why we are doing these. And that's why this year we're really trying to come back out and share some of the experiences, wisdom, whatever you want to call it, that we've gathered the last couple of years, building our brand to the $10 million mark. And that's what this challenge is all about. All right. Well, today, Andy, we want to talk about a basically $5 million product opportunity in our own brand that we've built thanks to connecting with USA manufacturers. So last week, we talked about how Deanna gave you a tip that led to over $1 million of profit. Well, we want to expand that today because we actually had several people reach out to us after the episode and really enjoy what we talked about and tell us, hey, I want to know more. How do I, where should I get products from? How do I start sourcing in the US? What do I have to go to China? What's this about? And I would say over the years, this has been one of the number one asked questions we've gotten from people through our private label teachings and trainings. People asking, do I have to buy stuff from China? Do we have to import from overseas? So things are changing, right? So I want to talk about that today. I want to talk about in our own brand, we've seen millions of dollars of revenue added with USA made products just over the last year and a half that we honestly too didn't really know the potential before because we hadn't done it. And we like to talk about stuff that we've actually done, not just theorize about what other people have done. We just want to pass along what we've done and see work. And now we've seen this work for us. So Andy, I want to get into some predictions, like before we even get into it, like maybe predict the landscape of manufacturing and Amazon seller getting their products made over the next couple of years, 3 to 5 years. What do you think is going to be happening? And then we can get into what people can do when it comes to getting products made.
Yeah, so the geopolitical environment has definitely changed. There is a move back to manufacturing in the USA. If you read the news at all, you'll see that, which is exciting. I think it needs to continue. And as far as small businesses like us selling on Amazon, you always need to have your antennas out there looking for potential sources that are going to ease that supply chain strain. And so right now, shipping from China is a little bit of a strain. So what we have actually done in the past year, in addition to finding USA suppliers, and we'll get into that because I think there's huge opportunity. As Trump would say, it's huge. There is unlimited, untapped opportunity to connect with local manufacturers in your area, but you have to have your eyes open, not only in your area, but through the internet and through some of these other sites that we're going to talk about today. You can connect and actually start having product made right here in the USA, which is going to ease a lot of those supply chain issues. But not only that, I would think you would agree with this, Nate, that there are still huge opportunity now starting to come up in India. So I think India is going to be the next China. India is probably where China was 20 years ago. And you and I both import products from India. We've had really good success with it. The manufacturers in India are very hungry. Oftentimes the terms in India are going to be better than what you can get in China as well. We've experienced that. And so, two huge opportunities we're going to talk about. One is sourcing here in the USA, and then also the opportunity about sourcing in India. What do you think about that?
Yeah, so my prediction, I mean, it's hard to say, right? But just a prediction is that all these geopolitical factors, the tariffs, the supply chain, China relations with the US, as far as China basically becoming economically the rival of the US more and more every year that we've seen. And so inevitably there's probably going to be these relationship challenges going forward. I read a book a couple months ago by Ray Dalio called Changing World Powers or something. And it basically talked about how through time, every couple hundred years, there's basically a change in the world power. The US has been the dominant the last 100 and coming up to 100 and so years. And before that was Britain, right? And then it was the Dutch before that, and so on. And China looks to be this next upcoming. And just what happens geopolitically whenever that happens, this change in power, typically the relationships between the two countries, the number one and two, aren't very good, right? So between US and China, there could be struggles. Now, I don't think it's going to be like immediate, and I don't think, hopefully, it's going to be as bad, like super bad, but it is going to probably impact things over time, just like we've seen through the past couple administrations, that there's been more and more kind of struggle. And so I think all of those factors we're talking about could lead to a shift in manufacturing. And what I think is, my prediction is that Amazon sellers who get ahead of the trend typically do better long-term, right? So 5 years ago, it was the sellers who found out that you could go to Alibaba and get products made cheap, basically won, right? When we first started selling on Amazon, that was what everybody did, or everybody was just starting to do, really. There wasn't nearly as many sellers back then, and there wasn't as many Chinese sellers back then. And if you were a US seller and you did that, you won, basically. You were able to get cheap products here, and it was the winning method. Now it's starting to get a little bit more difficult just because of the competition from China in general and the tariffs and some of these other things we're seeing. And so I think the trend is going to be, over time, the shift, right? We've all talked about this last couple of years, so it's not like a surprise, but it's one thing to talk about it and another thing to see it play out. And so in the next 5 years, I think there will be more manufacturing in India, like you said, Vietnam, US made, Taiwan, although obviously that has its challenges too, but I think we'll see more of that. And those sellers who get ahead of the curve and are able to figure out how to get the products made in those places over the next 3 to 5 years are going to position themselves well. And I think they're going to do well. Now, the challenge is that it's hard. We talked about this last week. You can't just say, well, I'm done with China. Like ourselves, most of our products are made there, and we can't just switch to India, for example, because although there is some manufacturing for our products in India, the quality is just not there. And the communication, the shipping delays, like some of that stuff just isn't there yet. And so it's this balancing act. How do you do it? So what's worked out for us well, thankfully, the last year with this USA made product is that we started from the beginning getting this product made here. So instead of trying to shift the manufacturing from one country to another, that kind of has its own challenges. But we started in the USA. It's a little bit of a heavier product. So there's kind of that built-in moat around the product that getting it made somewhere else would not be so beneficial because it is heavier. Getting it made locally kind of is an advantage in that way. And we've built the relationship already, and now we're expanding out our product lines. And you mentioned this last week, but the way that I found this supplier, well, one of them was Deanna telling you to reach out, and we were able to connect with one of them, and that relationship has led to multiple millions of dollars in sales. And then another supplier that I reached out just by Google searching, basically this product line, white label or private label. I can't remember how I said it, but basically along those lines, just like private label, white label this product. And I searched through Google and I found the supplier, reached out to them, talked to them on the phone, and we've already sold getting close to $1 million worth of that line. And we have high hopes this year. We think that now that we've established it, that's going to do really well. So simple search, but I know you have a couple other ways that we can connect. So Thomas.net is one that has been around for a while. So if you're taking notes, you're trying to figure out how do I get US manufacturers, that's a place to start. Now, it's funny, you would think because it's a US website that it would be easier to navigate than the Chinese Alibaba, but it's harder. It's not as good. Alibaba is like way more like Amazon. Like you go there and you feel like you're basically on like an Amazon-ish site. Thomas.net, you feel like you're back in the 90s on a website, and you're like, it's hard to find the manufacturer. You don't know which one really has what products. They're not displaying their images or videos like Alibaba has. So that part's frustrating. It's like, I'm waiting for the day, any day now, a Thomas.net competitor is going to come out and crush them. I think Alibaba was trying to do it. And I don't know if there was like regulation that prevented them from doing it or what, but they haven't done anything yet. I think they were planning to. So any day it'll happen. So that's one way, Thomas.net, start there if you haven't. And then Andy, I know you wanted to talk about trade shows and how one of our friends was able to basically find a product through trade shows. And so the opportunity there.
Yep. Excuse me. Yeah. So Thomas.net, I just want to go back to Thomas.net for a second. It's not going to happen within like a half hour generally on Google or Thomas.net. So on Thomas.net, I've been spending a lot of time on there because we have a product that we know is going to do really well on Amazon. So now we just have to find a USA manufacturer. I've emailed from Thomas.net over 20 manufacturers. I've received a few responses, but they were kind of generic responses. I've called now 10 of those manufacturers, and I have yet to receive a call back. So here's the thing with my email that I send to them, I say, hey, we're a company, we do over $12 million a year online. This is our product lineup. We think that your product would fit in really well with our product. And these are companies that on Thomas.net, they say their annual revenue is like $5 to $7 million. So you would think me showing them our website, showing them our product lineup, like I would get call backs like right away, or I'd get email backs right away. That's not the case, right? So a lot of times, again, working with US manufacturers, their systems, their sales systems aren't set up for folks like us. They're used to working with distributors. They're used to working with wholesalers. They have these established relationships. So you have to be persistent. And like with this product, I'm not going to give up. I'm going to continue to call. If I have to talk to the owner or the president of the organization, I'm going to do that. So just understand, when you use Thomas.net, it's not like when you use Alibaba. You and I both know that when we send an email on Alibaba, we'll get like 50 responses back because they're so hungry to connect, right, and sell their products. For whatever reason, US manufacturers aren't like that. So it's going to take a lot more sweat equity and work to connect with those, but the opportunity is there, right? We know that just from what we've experienced in our business. The second way is trade shows. So I'm actually getting ready to go to a trade show in 2 weeks. I'll be going there with 3 other Amazon sellers, which again, we both highly encourage you to network with other folks in your profession, whether you're selling on Amazon or you're doing some other type of business. We've both seen huge dividends on networking with other sellers. So we're going to a trade show. I'm going with 3 other sellers. And again, you might think, well, man, isn't that kind of weird? You're going to the same trade show, you compete with each other. That's not how it works. You actually are able to share best practices with one another and you stimulate each other. So we're going to go to this trade show and walk the floor. And these are all manufacturers here in the USA. And again, it's the same thing. We'll probably put 6 to 8 miles on our legs each day, walking the floor, talking to these manufacturers. You're looking for folks who are not currently selling on Amazon, or maybe they are selling on Amazon, but they're not having a lot of success. And so that happens a lot of times with manufacturers. They sell on Amazon, but they don't understand the Amazon ecosystem. Whereas if a veteran, experienced Amazon seller came alongside them, they could actually really help their sales. And so that's what we're going to do. Huge opportunity. We talk about this all the time. We know a very close friend of ours. That's how he met a manufacturer who now gets his product produced in Iowa. And it's a multi-million-dollar product. How did he meet him? Just walking the trade show floor, shaking a hand and making a connection.
And I will say this, we didn't talk about this, but I think that retail arbitrage sellers who are used to making connections with managers, and then any type of wholesale Amazon seller who's been like in the wholesale selling model for a while, actually has a leg up on traditional private label sellers when it comes to what we're talking about here. Because again, traditional private label, like me, at least, I'm used to just sitting at home on my computer, only messaging Alibaba people or whatever. And that's just the way it's been, where these retail arbitrage and wholesale people like are already used to picking up the phone, are already used to having to like do a little bit of digging to the website, finding the right rep to talk to and convincing them to sell them wholesale. And so US manufacturing is kind of similar. So I think if you're listening to this and that's been your experience, no, you kind of probably actually have a little bit of an advantage, or at least an experience advantage over traditional private label sellers, even if you haven't built a private label product or brand yet. Just maybe that will give you some confidence that that's just something that you have a leg up on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So I hope those tips help. Those of you that want to source products from the USA, keep your antennas up locally. Make sure that you always are looking around when you're driving by a place. And I've done this before. When I'm driving by a building, I've driven by 50 times and never really knowing what they make in that building. I've gone and I've knocked on their door and I said, hey, look, I live a mile away. I've driven by this building 50 times. Help me understand what you guys do here. And so those are the kind of things that you want to do to find, because when you do find that USA based manufacturer, it is gold. And you and I would agree with this. With our terms, with our USA manufacturers, they're 60-day terms. And so we basically have sold through the product. We've got back our investment along with the profit, and then we're able to pay our manufacturers. And that's beautiful for a retail business when you really operate on cash flow and capital allocation.
Yeah. All right. Well, I wanted to move to a couple other things. One was a brand that you just found yesterday that was really exciting. And then one was a product that you actually have sitting around your house that you just the other day sent me a message. You're like, check this out. Here's much you can buy this from Alibaba and what it's selling on Amazon. So I wanted to look at both of those. Let's start with this brand that you looked at yesterday. And this is like just a marketing genius brand called Liquid Death. So I'm interested, anybody who's listening or watching this in the comments, comment if you've seen this product on the shelves at stores or seen the ads or whatever. But Andy, just break this down, because the story here is incredible, and like their numbers behind their brand.
Sure. So I first saw it over the summer. A gentleman who mows my lawn, he came to Mo and he came carrying this can and it said liquid death on it. I'm like, man, what kind of energy drink is that? And so I looked at it and all it was water in a can. So we all know that water for the past, whatever, 30 years always comes in a plastic bottle. Well, this company had the genius idea. Let's put water, and they have great marketing on the store of the can. It's like mountain mineral water, which is the same as every other water that's out there. And but the branding on it looked like a heavy metal band, Liquid Death. And it costs like $3, I think, if you go to a gas station, you purchase it. But this guy was like, yeah, this is great. He loved the branding of it. So we, sure enough, we go and we look in the story, and the whole idea, the premise behind this company. And this is where we say again, too, social is so powerful. If you're building your business, you have to utilize social. In our own business, we have close to 15 followers now on Instagram.
15,000.
Yeah. And it's been great for getting traction for our brand. But what this brand did is they made a video. It only cost them $1,500, and they made a very creative video. The video went viral, had all these comments underneath the video. Man, if this brand existed, I would buy it today. And that's exactly what they were doing, is basically kind of market research. So as soon as that video went viral, they made an Insta page, they made a Facebook page, and people started joining in massive amounts. And then he went to investors and said, hey, look, this idea, it has legs. You can see all the people that follow it. And then he made the product, and now it's $1 billion brand. Think about the genius of that. All it is water in a can, but it's all about branding and then using social media to build that brand.
So again, I think it just speaks to the power of building your own product line, selling on online e-commerce, right? So we talk about this all the time. Now this brand's in stores and everything, but they started online, and it all comes down to the marketing. So we talked about this recently. Amazon sellers can't just focus only on Amazon forever. If you want to move beyond just selling widgets to building brand equity and value, that's why we are focusing on our social and our Shopify website and our email marketing and our advertising and all that, because marketing is just so important, right? And Amazon thankfully does a lot of the marketing for us on Amazon, but there still is a difference between getting customers and having true brand marketing, a brand image where people really fall in love with your brand. And then they come back and they buy from you again, or they tell someone about your brand, versus just searching for barbecue gloves on Amazon for, an example product, and finding, because of the keyword search, seeing your ad at the front and clicking it, but then never thinking about your brand again, versus telling your friend Liquid Death. And it's funny that you saw someone and you asked them about the can, because I watched a video after that you sent, and the creator of Liquid Death said their best marketing is actually when someone's holding the can and someone else asks them about it, right? So just they're like, what are you drinking? And so it's funny that you happen to do that same exact thing that the guy was saying. That's the best way that they get their marketing. It's not the ads or the ad dollars they're spending. It's the word of mouth. So just thinking about that with your product, how can you make it stand out? I think all of us as sellers need to think about our marketing. A lot of people will say that when it comes to selling e-commerce products, it's like the first 10 steps is out of the first 10 steps, the first 9 is marketing, right? And then the 10th most important is maybe the actual product. But first, you got to be good at marketing before you get to it. So yeah, really good product there. And excited to kind of follow that product along and see their journey. $1 billion brand is crazy. All right, so tell me about this pool cue holder. Is it the pool cue holder you have in your house? You were looking at it, and tell me about the numbers. You're going to just give the numbers, and then actually after the podcast episode in our on Facebook for our Amazing Freedom Insiders, we're going to look at the keyword data behind it and some looks. So if you haven't become an insider yet, go join that so you can see when we break down a product real time and look at some of the more detailed numbers. But tell us just kind of the rough, like what made you even look at this? And if someone's trying to build a brand, like what should their thought process be when it comes to finding a product?
Yeah, this is what's so exciting to me about selling on Amazon. There are still products today, and there are thousands of products, thousands of niches where you can go and get them on Alibaba at really good margins. So on this one that we're talking about, you can source on Alibaba for $15 to $25. and it sells on Amazon right now for $179. So think about the margin there. And you and I often talk about it in our business. That's what a good business is all about, being able to have good margins. Now, obviously, there's a piece you have to have a quality product, right? So the margin has to be there, then the quality has to be there. And if you can combine those two things, then you have a very good, viable business. This pool cue holder, it's a corner one. So it goes in the corner of whatever your pool room is. You put the cues in it. And there's not a lot of similar ones on Amazon. So there's opportunity right now. And again, like everything we say, we haven't deep dived into the research on this. However, the initial research, it looks very good that if you're able to build something similar and your margin is there, there's huge opportunity to sell a pool cue corner base holder. You can go on Alibaba, put those keywords in, go on Amazon, you'll see what I mean. And by the way, getting to this point of talking about the amazing opportunity in niches, I just actually had a phone consultation with a new seller yesterday. I haven't shared this with you, Nate. And she brought a product to market. It was her first product. It's in the toys and games category. Very simple product. She's able to get it manufactured in the USA. She got it in, and because in that niche of toys and games, there was no one who had made a similar product to what she had made. And again, when I say simple, it would blow your mind. After the podcast, I'll tell you what it is. It's just amazingly simple. And soon as it got in, boom, the rank went down. Now she's been selling that product for a year, average rank of 5,000 in toys and games. And you know how good that is. And that was her very first product. But what she was good at, she was good at identifying that niche and then being able to execute it on really good margin. And her PPC spend is minimal because there's not a lot of other competitors that sell a similar product. And so when we talk about this pool cue holder, very similar. We always say the way you win on Amazon is you find a product that's not oversaturated, but yet has demand. And you can see that by what other Amazon customers are buying that's similar. That's how you win on Amazon.
Yeah. So we did some keyword research. We'll break down the numbers in just a few minutes. If you're an insider, if you're not an insider, go sign up to one and you can see us break this down in the future weeks. We'll do that in a few minutes. So yeah, I like that. I like just the thought process that you're going around your house, you're looking at something that you're using that you already bought before. But because we already talked about USA manufacturers today, I do want to say this, or I want to ask you this, because you said, okay, you can go to Alibaba, $15 to $20. But let's just say you did want to go down the path of USA manufacturing. Again, we already talked about in this episode, the challenges there, but how would you even start if you were to say, hey, I want to get this made locally?
No, I like with this pool cue holder, I think there is opportunity. So I live in central Pennsylvania, and near me is a big Amish population where there are a number of places that build Amish furniture. And so if I wanted to do this product, I would probably try to go really high end. I would bring mine that I have here at my house and say, hey, look, how much would it cost for you to build something similar to this? And so that's where I would start with this product because with this product, I'm going to try to make some changes to it, some design changes to it to make it a little different, to make it look a little more high end. Because when you think about, again, you have to kind of know your niche. But when you think about pool tables, generally that's like higher end clientele. And so, they're looking for really nice things that are going to fit well in the pool room. So I don't think that they would be opposed to paying a higher price point if the quality and design was there. So that's personally where I would start.
Yeah. A lot of people's pool table rooms are more just like showrooms, honestly, right? So they're less price sensitive, and it's more about the quality and the look. So, okay, so you would go locally just because you happen to do that. And I'm just going to throw this out there. You would probably also, secondly, look for a relevant trade show where someone who works with wood products might be there. That could be another option. Or again, the Thomas.net and just looking for wood manufacturers. I'm sure will all be viable. But because you have this local connection, just like our product, that I would say for most people, that should be the place to start, whether it was like a food item or a health and beauty item. Like if you have a local manufacturing connection, it's always better to start there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, I like it. Okay, I want to wrap up today by highlighting someone from the Amazon Seller Tribe who we talk about all the time and we know and love, and that's Gary. I don't think we've talked about a whole lot his actual specific numbers, so I just wanted to throw this out there that last year in the Amazon Seller Tribe, Gary Ray, who is a co-leader of the group, actually sold over $2.2 million worth of product on Amazon. And the thing that's really crazy there and different than a lot of sellers is, I don't know the exact number, but I believe 90+% for sure is all online arbitrage, right? So he's doing all this arbitrage from his home, ordering products, and a lot of times his team members, his employees are hiring and making those decisions now because he's been able to build the systems that way. To over 2.2 million though, that's significant, just because again, back in the day, Andy, we knew some people who, very few people who finally hit the $1 million mark with arbitrage, but very few who got to 2 million with online arbitrage. So I just want to give out to Gary. It's really a testament to his online arbitrage automation system that he's developed and coached a lot of people on. And he, just to see his growth year over year, so steady.
And this is just a side hustle for him. He has a full-time income from a business agency that he runs. So this is, similar to how you and I started. We started as a side hustle, but now he has grown way beyond what you and I did, as a side hustle. And he's built out amazing systems so that he doesn't have to touch a product. He's not doing the buying. He's not doing the bagging and tagging and the opening of the products. He's built this ecosystem that's able to generate $2.2 million in revenue and really good hundreds of thousands of dollars in net profit. And I would say this too, there's no other seller I've met that actually shows behind the scenes his exact numbers. So he'll show exactly what the product is that he bought, what he sold it at, and then what his net profit was from that product. And then at the end of the year, he shows all of his net profit from the products that he's bought. So again, thinking 9 years ago, if we looked at that and thought, man, that, and this is what a lot of the conversation was 4 or 5 years ago, like that can't last forever, right? However, buying low, selling high has been going on for thousands of years. And as a testament again to Gary and the over 100 members in the Amazon Seller Tribe who sell over $1 million or more, it just shows that it is going to continue to go on. It may pivot, it may change a little bit, but that business model is still thriving.
In some practical advice, again, even if it just helps 1 or 2 people, I've told several tribe members the last couple of years, a mistake that I personally made was there was a point where I was a pretty good online arbitrage seller way before Gary was. So I'm a little bit jealous, right? Because I was a better arbitrage seller before, but then I let it fall away. I moved to other parts of the business, building the brand, which obviously has done very well. And so I'm not like complaining in that sense, but in hindsight, if I was to do it again, I would have done what Gary has done now and created the systems, hired the right general manager essentially to take over the buying and the online arbitrage. And I wouldn't have let what was going to be $1 million business around arbitrage just completely go away, right? So whether that's another business that someone listening is running or operating or owns, or whether it's an Amazon selling method, don't let something fall away just to chase the next opportunity. And it might be a good opportunity. Like in the case of me, create the system so that you first can kind of let that go on autopilot or sell it or whatever, so that you can focus your attention on the next opportunity. Don't do what I did and just let it fall away, because there's a lot of time and energy that I put into learning that could have just been a business that made me money year over year without operating. So that's my little piece of advice. Hopefully that helps someone. And then I want to highlight one more thing from AMZ Pro. So AMZ Professional. But by the way, actually, before I move on, if you aren't yet in the Amazon Seller Tribe and you want to be in that, you can go to AmazonSellerTribe.com or AmazingFreedom.com, either one, and join the tribe for a free trial of 7 days. Check out Gary's system, what he's doing. If you don't believe us, you can see his screenshots and his posts in the group, and you can see literally dozens and dozens of other screenshots of sellers who are selling $1 million, like Andy said. Okay, so go there if you want to join the group. And then AMZProfessional.com is another service that we own, helps sellers get back reimbursements and do account management. And I just wanted to give a shout out to our team for a seller that they helped this past week. New seller, new account that we started working with just 2 weeks ago. And our team was able to get 4 negative seller feedbacks removed in 1 week. So that's pretty significant, right? If you are especially like any kind of arbitrage or wholesaler where you're sharing the buy box with other people, your metrics around your feedback can make the difference between, one, how Amazon treats you, but also how other Amazon sellers treat you compared to the other selling options. Like if you're priced the same as someone else, one's at 100% and you're not, they might buy them. Some sellers don't look at that. Some consumer buyers don't look at that, but some do. Okay. So it is important. And I'm proud that we help people with their negative seller feedbacks in addition to the reimbursements, which is kind of the fun thing to see your money get back every week. That's AMZProfessional.com. So if you aren't taking care of this, or if that's a pain for you, because I know for me, negative seller feedback was always just a pain. Like I hated to deal with it in the cases and all that. We can take care of it for you with AMZProfessional.com. So wanted to give a shout out to our team there. And I think that's exciting. Well, Andy, I think that covers it. We're going to go over here in a minute, the details around that pool stakeholder. But for our listeners on the podcast who are listening to this afterwards, hopefully you find some value for that. Like I said before, Andy and I own a portfolio of brands here at Amazing Freedom that does $15 million in sales. And we do this show because a lot of people that we've met and talked to over the years have tried Amazon and struggled or failed, and we don't want you to be one of them. So we hope you join us for the journey of the $10 million challenge and just your seller journey in general at amazingfreedom.com, becoming an insider. And we'll catch you for the next episode of the Amazing Freedom Podcast.